the single ladies, all the single. That's the first thing comes out of his mouth. We did that record in 15 minutes tops.
My God.
Legendary Tricky Stewart.
Grammy Award winner, executive producer.
He's talented across the board.
We work really hard at what we do. We love what we do, and I appreciate you guys.
Umbrella, Rihanna, Single Ladies, Beyonce, Justin Bieber, Baby. Those songs individually would make someone one of the greatest songwriters, but to have them all together, like those three songs all together is crazy.
Umbrella is the single most important song that I've ever written.
How do you know a song is a hit?
When I nail it, it works on all the charts. It gave me 4 months with Britney Spears at the studio every day. He sent the song in. He sent it to them, and they rejected the song.
Really?
Spending time with Mariah Carey was one of the greatest moments of my life because I believe she's the most prolific songwriter that I've ever sat with. Truth of the matter is, there wasn't a whole lot of hype surrounding Justin Bieber. He was very close to not being, because if you go back and you look at the One Time video, there's no way that you had a plan for success for this kid's life. Music is music. Anyone can make music. Okay. Anyone can cook, right? But there's a difference between keeping yourself alive and being a chef.
How do you go about making a song into a hit?
It's...
Super excited today because we have the one and only, the legendary, the music producer of all time, Tricky Stewart. Thank you so much for being a part of Behind the Wall. When I started this series, it was to shine a light on the people and stories behind music, movies, and media. And I was always thinking to myself, it would be so incredible to get Tricky Stewart on Behind the Wall. And I was like, oh, it's probably never going to happen. But today, I just want to say, follow your dreams, kids, because something I never thought would happen is happening today. Because we're talking to one of the biggest music producers, songwriters of all time. Thank you so much for being a part of this.
Thank you for having me. That is an amazing introduction, so I appreciate it.
You know, one of the things I always like starting out with is it always blows people's minds because a lot of the times music is often, they have like a bit of a wall in front of it, so you don't really get to see or hear about the people behind the scenes as much. And they always are blown away by all the songs these people are part of. So one of my favorite questions to ask is, for anyone out there who doesn't know who you are, what are some of the songs they might know you from?
Some of the songs you may know me from are Rihanna's Umbrella, Beyonce's Single Ladies, Justin Bieber's Baby, Frank Ocean's Novacane, let's see, Dreams, I Love Your Girl,
Insane.
And Shawty's a 10. I mean, no, not Shawty's a 10. Falsetto, Katy Perry, Circle the Drain.
Wow.
And Hummingbird Heartbeat. There's a lot. I've been doing this a long time, but you know what I've found, no matter how much music you put into the world, your career is going to come down to 3 big moments, regardless of how many records that you do. There's going to be things that kind of define who you are. And Umbrella, Single Ladies are definitely 2 of those for me. And then it's always just a matter of what that third one is. And so we've had some success recently with the Break My Soul record off the Renaissance album, Incredible. Which was a really great moment. But for me, I think that Baby Justin Bieber record is one of my I just love seeing generationally how records just stay alive. And even though a 7-year-old may not know who the Justin Bieber is today, they find like a record like that, and it's part of childhood, and I think that's a really special thing.
Honestly, some of the greatest songs of all time: Umbrella, Rihanna, Single Ladies, Beyonce, Justin Bieber, Baby. Those songs individually would make someone one of the most recognizable songwriters, or one of like the greatest songwriters, but to have them all together, like those 3 songs all together, is crazy.
God is good. It's been an incredible journey, being in the right place at the right time and adding the work. You know, you have to add the work, but at the same time, I've just had a lot of really incredible things happen to me, and you just kind of go, is this really my life? Is this, there's just been some things that are unexplainable that go beyond talent, go beyond work, and it's just something that I've learned to trust that it's going to be there for me, and the timing is everything.
It's interesting you say that. I want to go over all the songs you talked about, of course, but before doing that, one of the other questions I always like asking is this idea of, there's so many massive songs that you've been a part of, but How many songs do you think you made until you got your first placement or hit?
Oh wow, those are two different things. I got my first placement pretty quickly. Like I've not had the problem with placements. I got my first placement. I was probably about 15 or 16.
Oh wow.
And yeah, I worked with Immature. This is going way back. So Immature, Brandy, they were all signed to a production company, and Immature is who Marcus Houston is, right? So that
Okay.
group of kids, like they were the other side, the West Coast version of Crisscross, right? Like it was kind of like they were young, they were 8, 9 years old, and so I did that first, and then that led me into Shantae Moore's first record and Aaron Hall's early records, and so those records I was active in being part of the situation. It wasn't until I would say when I did Who Dat in '99. So I started really in about 90, 93, like making records, right? And by 99, I had the first feeling of what it was to be part of the music business and what it's really made up of. And so I had this record with JT Money and Soleil called Who Dat. It was like Who Dat, Who Dat, Who Dat, Who Dat, Who Dat. It's like, and so this record, although it was a hip hop record, ended up following a formula that I've seen my records follow, which is when I nail it, it works on all the charts. So it was big on rap. I won Rap Song of the Year. It was big on R&B. It was big on pop. And that's when I first realized the power of a hit. Doesn't matter when you write one, it doesn't matter what the other artist is, and it doesn't matter how big their video budget is. It just matters. Like if you have the thing that people are looking for, you have a real shot at winning.
What do you consider a hit to be then?
My definition of a hit is something that moves the masses, right? Like I'm attracted, my personal attraction is to the highest level of music. And so I measure that in top 10s, number ones, impact, of everyone liking the song, bringing everyone to the table. And I know that there's a lot of like genres and things like that and within that now, but back then, and the way that I really like to play is like I'm still all about that number one global, number one global record, or that record that if I touch down anywhere in the world, you're going to know, hey, that I know that record. Like whether I touch down in the UK or whether I touch down in the Philippines. It's like, I want you to hear a record like Water. I want you to hear a record like Umbrella. I want you to hear the types of records that me and my company have been a part of, whether that's even going back to the No Scrubs and the Bills. It's like the records that we make at historically Red Zone or RZ3, which is our new venture, we go for it. Like we go for it every time, and we do it with intent. We don't spend a lot of time in the vibes. It's really about how good is the song, how great is the chorus.
It's interesting because I keep hearing about, I listen to a lot of the interviews you've done, and you've talked about how important hits are in music. What are the qualities that make a song a hit, and how do you go about making a song into a hit? How do you know a song is a hit too?
I don't think you know a song is a hit. I think for me, like I said, a hit is about moving the masses, and I believe that there is a such thing as a perfectly crafted record, and it doesn't mean that you have to be great at what you're doing. It doesn't even mean that you have to know what you're doing to do a perfect record. It just has to tug enough people in the right way in order for it to be magic. And I'm looking for that magic moment. And sometimes that magic moment is the first 10 minutes of a song, and you go, we have it, and it's great. But I'm committed to the 10 minutes or the 10 days or the 10 months. It really doesn't matter to me. I'm just trying to figure out how to make people feel something that they need to have part of their lives.
Interesting. you talked about how you got your first placement at 15 or 16, but in terms of like getting into music, I was looking into it, and you have one of like the most talented families in all of entertainment. It seems like.
Yes, I would say so. Someone asked me the other day. They said, "What was your first big break? What was your defining moment in music?" And I was like, "It was the family I was born into. You know, it wasn't the industry or an industry moment. It was the idea that everywhere that I looked in my family, I could see music happening. Whether that was with my uncle Butch, my brother Laney Stewart, who is an amazing producer, my father and mother." Both choir directors. My dad went on to be a classical pianist. Both my grandmothers played piano, and one of them played organ. But I grew up in that way where every single person, my cousin is Cucurell.
Which is crazy. By
Yeah,
the way.
Jason Weaver is my cousin. First cousins. I don't mean like distant cousins.
That's
I mean
crazy.
like Thanksgiving, Christmas. Like mothers are sisters. So my mom and her sisters all grew up, like came up doing Curtis Mayfield and
wow.
Aretha Franklin. And so it was like, I was just looking at a picture the other day of me and my cousins, and I'm like 4 years old with the Ohio Players sitting in my Aunt Vivian's living room at her piano. And it's just like, I grew up going to sessions. I grew up being in and around music, whether it was secular music or whether it was gospel music. And so my love of church and wanting to be a musician within the church framework, and then also my brothers, when they got into music, was really like, my brothers were the first ones in the family that were like, we're going into records. And particularly my brother Laney. Laney was kind of like a phenom, coming up as a musical, like almost like a musical prodigy, I would say. And he had an ability to make records from a very, very young age. He went into advertisement, did like big campaigns for Coca-Cola, McDonald's. My whole family, I grew up doing these sessions. So it's like, you know, me as a child, I'm in there, Big Mac, filet of fish, quarter pounder French fries, icy Coke, thick shake, sundaes, and apple pies. Like, and it's me, my cousins.
That's crazy.
And my uncle is the producer. And it's just like, this is the life that I was born into.
So you guys did jingles.
We did jingles and advertisement. And so from that standpoint, I would say that was my big break. And then when my brothers decided to go into records, I didn't think anything of it. I was so young, so full of ambition, and really just wanting to emulate what big brothers are doing. It wasn't really giving it that much thought. It turned out I was pretty good at it. And so I've just been really, really blessed and fortunate in that way. Like I said, right place, right time. I believe that my family has given me a tremendous outlook on what it means to have an optimistic view of music and how to connect the dots financially, because there is a business. You know, there's music and there's a business. So I don't have a whole lot of, oh, I didn't know that, or nobody ever told me. I was told, and I understand where it is, and I understand where to invest my time. And I never did music from a standpoint of not being empowered. No was no then, no is still no now. It's my gift, it's my share, it's whether I want to be there. I am not the industry's toy to play with. I'm not the one that you call to be in a session or a camp. I make records. You want records from me, you send your artist to me, we'll make records. Like, I don't submit, you don't have my songs, you can't play them for people. No. There's nobody right now that could be like, I got a Tricky Stewart record that I'm not making an album for.
Wow. Did that take a while to get to that point, or was that kind of like the setup that you did right away?
It was always that way. I've always valued music. That music is what I've put my entire life into. And so I value it higher than anything else. And so for me to value myself is for me to understand who values what I do. And if you don't value what I do, I'm not interested in playing with you or for you.
I love it. Even you talking about earlier with Jason Weaver being your cousin, he had so much success like super young. And to see your family also have so much success super young, was that like, did that light a fire under you to be like, I want to do this? And is that how it got to that placement so quickly?
Yes, we were all there together. Jason is 5 years younger than me. And so while he's playing Michael Jackson, yeah, I'm in the record business already. You know what I mean? Like, and so Michael Jackson and Brewster's Place and some of the early things in his sitcom career, those things, that stuff started happening for Jason from the age of 5 or 6 years old.
Wow.
And by the time he was maybe 12, 13, somewhere in there, I can't remember. Like, my timestamp shit is not like the best, but I started producing demos on him. That led him into getting a record deal. And that's kind of, it was always just Kook was producing the vocals. You know what I mean? It was in Kook's house.
Oh, wow.
You know, and it's just, and his mom was writing the songs with me. And that was a normal Stewart Haywood like connection right there.
So throughout this whole time you're producing, making songs.
I'm in the studio. I wouldn't say I'm producing yet.
What's the difference?
Well, you can be in the studio, you can make music, and then there's producing. And producing is about making records.
Okay.
And my definition of producing. And so I was, it takes a minute to learn how to make records, how to craft records. So I made music for some years with my family before I understood how to craft records.
How would you say you craft a record versus making music then?
Because music is music. Anyone can make music.
Okay.
Anyone can cook, right? Like you can go but there's a difference between keeping yourself alive and being a chef.
True.
Right?
Very
and
true.
so I'm a chef. Like I'm not a cook. When I go in, it's about presentation, it's about how good, it's about ingredients. I'm taking in the factors other than the other person is just hungry. This is a life choice. I'm nurturing you with my food, which is music is my food.
How long do you think it took until you figured out how to craft a record? And when
I really learned how to craft records. There's a guy by the name of Steve Lunt, who was the A&R at Jive. And in 2002, after a lot of work of my publisher, Monty Olson, and my management, Mark and Judy Stewart, they were just kind of knocking on the door for me to do Britney Spears, like 2-3 album cycles.
Wow.
And as you know, Max Martin is the producer of that. And this is still, this is the In the Zone album that I'm talking about, right?
Okay.
And so she's got massive, massive hits. And Steve Lunt afforded me the opportunity to be patient with me with the biggest star on the planet and taught me how to craft what I would say a proper pop record and what goes into it and the understanding of ultimately not just making records for the room that you're in, but understanding the men and women that are in the other rooms too, and understanding what they could possibly be doing. That once your stuff meets up in the room, it's got to win the room over and over, like in everybody's house, in everybody's car. And it starts against just the best producers in the world. And so that part of going into an A&R meeting and walking out with a win against, great producers, great production, craftsmen, he taught me and had the patience with me. We spent way too much money on the 4 songs that I did, just because I didn't know. It took me a long time to get to where other people could get to quickly that understand. And now I can get there quickly. But without that particular piece of Steve Lunt and Jive Records allowing me to really, they gave me 4 months with Britney Spears. Like, you know what I mean? This is not like little time. And I don't mean like Britney Spears, like, I mean like at the studio every day.
Wow.
Like, let's figure this out. And so, and that's when I learned the difference between hits and smashes, because I had records that I thought were hits, and then here comes Toxic. Right? And
True.
and Toxic was like a record that they didn't even want. Truth be told, they didn't like it. And so only me, Britney, and Steve Lunt liked it. And she had to pull some major throw some major weight around to get that record out there. And ultimately, that's when I understood the difference between being on the album, having the opportunity, and coming through with the one that you remember forever. And arguably, you could say that Toxic might be Britney's biggest record. And I had to go up against that record, and I lost. But I learned a lot, and that's what got me to the Umbrella moments.
That is interesting. What would you say was the things you learned during that 4-month period to be able to craft a record and to make a smash in a sense? Like, what changed? Like, what did you learn from that?
Well, first, I understood the power of the song. I think before that, I was like, I'm a producer first, right? Like Quincy Jones and Jam and Lewis are my guys, even though they're like writer producers. But I'm saying, like, I come at it from the production side, the musical side. Like, I'm not like some sit down and write line by line with you producer, like legs crossed type of energy, right? Like, and so what I learned is the power of the song. You can't polish a turd, right? If it's not there, like, I don't produce songs until the song, I can't stop listening to the song in whatever form it is, no matter how bad the demo is. I don't care how bad any presentation of a record is, or if you sing it to me live or whatever it is. If I believe in the song, then I believe that I can produce that song. And once I got to that approach where I realized the part that I was going to bring to the process was the finishing and ultimately the vision of how the audience receives that song. How is this song perceived? Because you could give 5 different producers the same song, and you'll have 5 different interpolations of the song. But I truly believe, with my influences, how long I've been here, my ability to study of what's happening and what's going on, that I have the ability to make records that work on all the continents because I'm listening to all the continents. I want to be there. It's my attraction. I don't like small hits. I just don't like them. And I know, like, sometimes in the industry now, people don't like to talk about hits. This is what this thing is made of. I don't care. It's not made of artists. It's made of the songs. You will forget. There are so many songs in the 70s that you will go back and swear that it's the artist that you know, and it is not.
Interesting.
It's the artist that sounds like the one that you loved, that only had, they might have hits, but there's someone that might have the biggest song of that era because they wrote the biggest one. And so I believe that the songs are going to last. And obviously I don't mean that to say that artists aren't important, because obviously the artists, when you have great artists, they take your whole thing up a bunch of notches. But at the same time, I really focus on making special songs, like really special songs. And then I'd rather figure out who to call versus like making songs with people, unless the artist is there and they have the time. I don't do like the quick, let's get together for 6 hours. If you see my name next to Mariah Carey's, I was in the room for Mariah Carey for weeks on a time. If it's Beyonce, she's never not made time to be in the studio. That's the one thing that I can say I respect about her so much, is that with everything that she has going on, it's never bigger than the, like, let's do the work. Let's really spend the time and figure this out. And whether that's experimentation of, let's go down this road for 2 weeks. Like, and there's sometimes that she might want to go down a road for a week and a half, 2 weeks on something just to get to the other thing. And I love artists that have the time, especially the big artists, the ones that have the time to make records.
You talked about it earlier with Umbrella. Was that the song that changed everything for you in a sense? Was that the song that like put you as kind of the Tricky Stewart we know today in a sense?
I would say so. I think Umbrella is the single most important song that I've ever written or been a part of. And I think because you can make records, you can have a #1 record and nobody wants one. nobody sees themselves in the next one. Umbrella was probably the first time when we had a massive song that the whole world was like, we want some of that. And at that point, that's where that education of being beat by Toxic led me to understanding that there's a record that you can make that you don't have to ask any questions about. You don't have to ask if you're going to be on the album. There's a record that you make. There's the type of record that you can make where you know that if it gets heard, it's going to change your life. And Umbrella, thank God, through a lot of like strategic decisions, relationships, there was a lot of people coming at us wanting the record, but it ended up in the right place. Thanks to Mark, really just making sure that first and foremost that we got to hear everybody out, enjoy the moment, but ultimately we bet on the new girl. We bet on a previous relationship with Karen Kwok and L.A. Reid. They were the most passionate about the song. And at the end of the day, it changed everything for us because it was the confidence booster that we needed to, I would say, creatively get out in the stratosphere of doing what it was that was truly the music that we wanted to make. And that led us to the confidence of making Love Hate for Dream and Love versus Money. And this almost emboldened creativity that was ultimately like, you can't fuck with us. And it's just, that was the mindset. It's like, I don't know what y'all are working on tonight, but it ain't this right here. You don't have Ditch That tonight. You don't have Falsetto tonight. You don't have I Love Your Girl tonight. You're not, and we knew that, and we could feel that. And so I would say, beyond a shadow of a doubt, like, that's the record that put the battery in my back to go, now this is the game you want to play. This is the game you want to play. And that's the only game I play now.
There's a famous video online of the Dream singing Umbrella, the original demo is on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
How did that song come about? Like, do you remember what it was like being in the studio that day? And
Yeah, absolutely. It was an interesting day. It was around Christmas time, during the Christmas break, I remember. And the thing that was kind of happening at the studio is that I had all these incredible writers around. I had Dream, I had Esther Dean, I had Tayo Cruz, Rico Love, producers surrounding us, and whether I think it was Jazzy Faye and Los and all these other things. Maybe I'm a little premature on that, Jazzy and Los, but we just had a lot of great writers around, and I was kind of getting these great records because I was working with this girl named P Magnet as well, who I did the Britney stuff with. But I was getting super creative records, but the shit just wasn't right for the artists that were coming in. Mm. And so I had said, hey guys, I need you to call before you come because I kind of need to coordinate these sessions better. And everybody kind of got a little offended, I would say.
Wow.
And everybody except for Dream. And Dream and I hadn't written together yet. Like, he was in the building, but we hadn't spent creative time together. And at that particular time, I had just spoken to my cousin Kook, because Kook had retired from music. He had went into the Christian side of doing things. And because I had the optics of being on Britney, people were charging me like crazy for everything because they thought I was a bona fide hit maker, but I didn't write Toxic, right? And so I'm getting all these high engineering bills. So I'm like, let me call my cousin and see if I can get him to come down here. And so I called Kook and I'm like, man, I'm having trouble kind of staying afloat with my engineering and my vocal production and this and that. I was like, man, I really could use your help. So he comes down, and that morning is during Christmas, right? During the Christmas break. And we're just he's organizing the room, helping me get my stuff together. Like, oh, you need to do this. And have you checked out Logic and all this kind of stuff? And so Dream comes by, and we're literally doing an equipment test and testing the microphone. And he's like, have you heard Logic? And he hits the loop. Right? Just hits the loop. And I'm like, yo, that's crazy. And the way the room was set up, like I had my keyboards here, like, you know, in front of the console and stuff like that. So I just started playing the and with this hand I'm playing the bass. And Dream and Cook's like, go test the mic. Dream, can you go out there and test the mic? I kid you not. That demo that is on there is what we did. We did that record in 15 minutes tops.
Oh my gosh.
And it was one I won't say it's the first song that Dream and I had ever worked on together, but it's the first time we were in the studio together. And so the record, you know, literally he sang that record down as a freestyle. And what I thought was a freestyle. I didn't know his creative prowess or his mindset yet, because I'd only witnessed him from a distance.
Yeah.
And this is when I found out that he was literally one of the best lyricists ever, I think, in my opinion. I think he's unmatched as a lyricist. I mean, he gets a lot of credit, but you could get a lot of credit and still be underrated.
True.
And I think he's really unmatched in his ability to tell stories, his intake. A lot of people thinks he writes like live on the mic all the time, but it's so much writing. He's a writer 24/7, 365. And when he gets behind the mic, it's a thought. It's so much thought into what he's done and what he's crafting. And that record was just one of those magical moments that I'll always cherish, the creative process and obviously the outcome. The outcome of it, I always say I love building new towers. Like the Rihanna Tower is one that I take a lot of pride in music, just like the Justin Bieber Tower or the Frank Ocean Tower or the Dream Tower for that matter. You know, these things didn't exist, and then you put things in the ecosystem that ultimately make it so that the world knows where it is and they can see it. And so very, very proud of Umbrella.
I was listening to another interview that The Dream and you were both doing, and he was talking about how he literally had to stop himself from writing songs in the middle of the interview in his head in order to answer questions. Like that's insane to even think about. Do you do the same thing when it comes to melody lines and like productions and like stuff as well, or is it like you are in front and it just comes to you?
I think for me, it's always there. You know, I have to calm it down. It goes back to me being like probably not the greatest student. Like, you know, if someone's talking to me, yeah, it's in there. Like I hear rhythm out of everything, every squeak, every you know, if we're riding in a car and the car has a rhythm to it, like I hear it and it triggers. And so I'm always constantly looking for that melody, and that melody lives within me, I would say. And you know, it's annoying. it could be annoying. It keeps you up at night. It wakes you up early in the morning, and
Keeps you working though, right?
Yeah, you could say that. I work a lot and have for a long time.
How much do you work, would you say, then? Like in a week on music?
My normal work week, and I'm slowing down. My normal work week is still 6 days a week, 1 p.m. to 5 a.m.
Wow, jeez.
That's the swag
Incredible.
in 2025. I don't want it to be that way. It's just there's a thing that and I'm working on this. Like this is hard for me. Like it's something in there. I don't know. It's always in there, and it's just like it needs to be in position to strike at all times. And I just love it. I love it so much. Like I just can't get enough. I'm trying to, but I just can't. I just can't solve why making music and working with artists and developing sound is taking over my life. But I'm not complaining, but I love it.
Yeah, it's really cool though, because you do more than just make hits. You actually like help the artist with their development, as you just said, artist development, one of the people that you talked about earlier, Justin Bieber's Baby, or even before that with One Time, which, by the way, phenomenal record as well. I don't think One Time gets as much of its flowers as it deserves, because I remember when that record came out, and I remember when it was on the radio, and everybody was talking about this new kid in music, but you didn't really hear kids on the radio for a long time. I don't even remember ever hearing a kid singing on the radio. What was the process like to develop Bieber and to break him in a sense?
Well, I didn't develop Bieber from the standpoint of artist development. I think obviously he brought a lot to the table, right? He showed up as a multi-instrumentalist, a dynamic personality, and Scooter took that part from there. But our part is where figuring out, to your point, the tallest order we've ever had. How do you get a child on the radio that's not like every other person that is this age comes from Disney or from Nickelodeon? And so this was an uphill battle. It's still, I mean, even with that, it still doesn't have a radio stat attached to it, right? Like we can't, like it didn't go number one. It wasn't a top 10. It just sold, I don't know, I think it sold like 13 million now at this point. It was the first record to 1 billion on YouTube, first one to 2 billion. And then I think Psy came and was the first one to 3 billion and 4 billion. But massive success, massive impact. And it was a tall order. You know, getting kids on the radio is not something, it doesn't happen. It's not going to happen. That's just the truth of the matter. And so the little bit of airplay that we did get and the hype was really about the fans, because the truth of the matter is there wasn't a whole lot of hype surrounding Justin Bieber. He was very close to not being, he was very close to not being. And Karen Kwok and Chris Hicks and some other people, we really like raised our hand to work with him, because I knew Scooter. Scooter was my guy from Atlanta. And, I was in a meeting where it was like, it wasn't going too good. And I was like, hey, that's my man Scooter. And I was like, I don't know too much about the kid, but I know Scooter. And I was like, at this time I'm kind of on fire. And so as Umbrella has come out, Dream has come out. And so I'm like, let me just look at the kid. Right. And so I even went in, even me going in at that time was kind of renegade, because, that's what Dream didn't do One Time with me. I did that with the Movement. And so it was kind of like almost experimental. And then Dream heard the record, or Chris Hicks asked him, do you want to work on this kid? And that's when he wrote the record Baby. And, and funny enough, I believe we had Baby and One Time at the same time. And I can't remember who it is, but, in the record company, the chairmans and the CEOs get all the credit. But somebody said, let's put out 2 EPs and we're going to hold this one for the second EP. And by the time One Time and had taken on, a little bit of those battles and things like that of just what it means to be a kid and all that. Now, because if you go back and you look at the One Time video, there's no way that you had a plan for success for this kid's life. This is like DOA type of video. There's the commitment looks and feels very low to the kid. And by the time we came back to Baby, now we have Drake in the video. Now we got Ludacris. Now we have Jasmine V is the lead girl in the video, and so things change. All it takes is a record, and I think One Time and Baby were those records for him. And then we did the Christmas albums. Our company did the Christmas album. Kook executive produced the Christmas album. Because we just wanted to keep him vocally protected. That was a big thing during that time. We had to manage a voice change without the world knowing. And so we had to really manage all, keeping him protected, because it was a long time. If you look at the music between the first EP, second EP, Christmas, and then and then he comes back and he's got a new voice.
It's like a completely different brand in a sense when someone has a voice change. I never even
Yeah.
thought of that.
So those are all very difficult things to navigate. And thank God we had Kook on our team. I think that's why he's one of the best in the world, because there are voice changes that go on, you know, for lots of artists, not just a kid, but, you know, maturity, women after having children, their voice changes, you know, and it takes somebody to be able to really keep them on track to let them know, no, this is how you used to sound. Like, and this is what the audience is used to. Like, yes, this is your voice now, but we got to dial you up way up here. You know?
It seemed like, because I was listening to the songs again the other day, and one time when you listen to it, it feels like a hit, but when I heard Baby, I couldn't help but dance. It feels like a smash. It's crazy.
Yeah.
How is that like a similar situation to Umbrella, where it just produce it really quickly and then it just comes out of Dream in that sense?
No, that song was a little bit different because, you know, Dream is a writer and producer as well. So he'll sit down on the keys and get his ideas out as well. So that was a song that I think he was in New York, perhaps, came up with the initial idea. He sent the song in. He sent it to them, and they rejected the song.
Really?
And then I produced the song, and then they were like, "Oh, this is a smash," you know. And that's the kind of the nature of what I like to do, is like really figure out the song itself. You know, they weren't really feeling the song, I don't think, you know, from what I remember. And so it's that element of where writing and production meet that I think gives you the best opportunity to be commercially acceptable and just like dominate.
It's so interesting. Like, what changed between the original demo and then what you did to produce it? Like, how could they be convinced after? What does production add to that song that was like, this is a smash now, from what Dream sent in?
I think what a good production does is make things palatable so that you ultimately, it sounds like ABC 1, 2, 3. Sounds so simple that I think I could have done it. I think as complicated as records are in crafting them, I think the most important part is making the audience feel like they can do it. You know, like that they, like, of course that's a hit. It's so simple, you know, but really there's a lot of complexity that goes into making a record feel like it was damn near your idea. It's like by the time you get to the second verse, I want you to anticipate my next line. I want you to know what the chorus is by the first time that you hear the chorus, by the time you get to the end. And so making those decisions of whatever that is, whether that's changing a middle line of a chorus or changing the end of a line, or it could be putting a 1-bar turnaround so that you know that was the chorus, you know, and that here's my second verse, and now I'm set up for that. It's all those little nuances that I think play huge dividends in the idea of having records sound easy. But when you make music, sometimes you're just making music, and that music and hits are two different things, in my opinion.
Over the last few years, I've sat down with some of the greatest minds in all of music, and they've told me stories and given me some of the best tips that changed my entire perspective on creating. And I'm looking to give that to you because I'm hoping that it can help you just as much as it helped me. My goal with Behind the Wall is to shine a light on the people and stories behind music, movies, and media. It's to inspire the next generation of creatives, but it's also to create the platform that I wish I had when I first started making music, when I first started being creative, when I first started making videos. Behind the Wall has taught me so much on this journey, and I want to take these lessons that I've learned and help the next generation. So I put together 15 of the most important and impactful lessons that I've learned on my own journey from these people directly, from some of the greatest minds in all of music. People like Chris Martin of Coldplay, Benny Blanco, Ryan Tedder, Julia Michaels, Amy Allen, Bonnie McKee, Savan Kotecha. So many of the greatest minds in all of music, people that I had the pleasure and privilege of interviewing, people People like Ryan Tedder, who gave me one of the greatest pieces of advice that helped me on my own journey. People like Benny Blanco, who changed my entire perspective 6 years into making music. People like Marshmello, who taught me that as long as something sounds good to you, it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. And I'm looking to pass this knowledge on to you, which will be 15 lessons from the greatest minds in music, which will be in the description completely for free. Check it out in the description below. And now let's go behind the wall once again.
You also have just made so many incredible songs, and I don't think I've heard you talk about a lot of them, but I haven't heard you talk a ton about the Mariah Carey days, and then also Jesse McCartney's Leavin'.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a classic too.
Yeah. Shoot. I mean, there's so many records, right? Like, I've been doing this a long time, and so I looked at like 10 years ago. I think it probably was, and at that time I had 747 published records.
Wow.
And that was 10 years ago. And so there's lots of stories. Each one of these sessions or records has so much information behind it. But spending time with Mariah Carey was one of the greatest moments of my life, because I believe she's the most prolific songwriter that I've ever sat with out of all of them. Because she is, she taught me, and she's one of the best producers I've ever co-produced with as well. She taught me that how to not waste space, no wasted space, stardom. What is the artist saying? What is the artist doing? Like, everything for her points to, what am I doing? What am I saying? And she wants to know the answer to that. It's not her ad-libs and people being in concerts and singing those things line for line is not an ad-lib track. It's written. And she taught us that. I would say at least she taught me that, seeing that up close and personal, and just spending time with, I worked with her after We Belong Together, after Vision of Love, after just an incredible, like, I think, we have her last #1 record besides the Christmas record, right? And her prowess as a creator, and once again, that person that makes the time for the records. It's like, we weren't sending things, like, it was like, no, we're in here, like, every day. Let's meet at the studio. I'll get you whatever you need. And ultimately, that was one of the finer times of my life. And Leaving was for Jesse McCartney, which I love that record, by the way.
Me too.
Leaving was great. I did that with the Movement as well. So Movement, I was working with co-producers at the time. The Movement, JB and Karan, and we did one time together. And then Leaving was the second record that we did together. Those are the only 2 records in our catalog together. Unfortunately, we were on a nice run, and then something happened, and then I stopped messing with them. I can't remember what it was, but those records are really, really special. Leaving still sounds great to me. Sometimes you listen to stuff and you're like, geez, this thing is like old sounding, but like his voice, and it was such a pleasant surprise for me, because I knew his name. I didn't know about his voice though. He had a really good voice and a really good tone, really great tone.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's so many hits that you have been behind, but the one that brought you also into the spotlight at the Grammys was Single Ladies by Beyonce. Tell me about making that song, because I heard something that you've said in a previous interview that really stood out about the beat specifically. Okay,
so I'll talk about the creative part of it, because there's a lot of stories to Single Ladies, but the interesting part about that, there's 2 things that stand out to me. One is one of my producers, I was like, we were on a run, and I felt like my sounds were getting like a little, like, I'm like, I can't reimagine my sounds anymore. So before I left for the trip, I said, hey, do me a favor. Could you make me some new drum kits? Because this is MPC 3000 time, right? And so I was like, make me a few new drum kits. So get there, got all these new sounds, and I'm like, oh, okay, creatively inspired. First record, we did one really quick because we landed, got in the studio, because at the time we were on tour, because now Dream is opening for Jay-Z and Mary J. Blige on the Heart of the City tour. And Beyonce's on the tour, so like she's on the tour with Jay, but they're not married yet, right? And so we go in, we do a quick song, and then the second song is Single Ladies. And it's us in one room, and it's Stargate in the other room.
Wow.
Matthew knows, and B and everybody. So back in those days, it was very common for us to work side by side with like Stargate, and it was, you know, it was the Hunger Games in there. Like they would be opening their door, and you would hear a crazy ass record, and we would open our door, you hear a crazy ass record, and so the record starts to come together because I make the beat, but I'm not loving the beat, so I'm about to go to the next one, and Dream was like, "What are you doing, Trick? Like that beat is crazy. Like, turn on the mic." I got the whole song in my head, like, because he was done already. Like, sometimes when I'm working on something, and when I say I'm working on something, I might be 6 minutes into it, and he's done mentally. Like, I got it. I got the concept. I know what we're going to talk about. I know how this is going to work. And so ultimately now we're a few minutes in, and he ultimately is like, goes in, does the record, like, all the single ladies, comes right up. That's the first thing comes out of his mouth. I'm like, where's this going? And so he writes the record, puts it down. Now I've got just a skeleton. Now I'm like, okay, let me figure this out. How do I make this palatable? Like, now I'm like trying to figure out, because like that song has weird bars, like the bridge is, you know, weird, like, you know, so there's things to unpack. So I figured it out, you know, and I just kind of get in my zone, do whatever I'm doing, have a little shot or something or whatever, get in the zone, spend about maybe 35, 40 minutes working on it. We're working on it together. And then we kind of put together like a quick presentation of it, you know, and Tata walks in because he happened to be at the studio. This is at Rock the Mic in New York when they had that studio. And ultimately he's like, yo, what's that? Like, that is insane. Like, and I'm like, I'm still kind of like, you know, like, and Dream is like, this thing's out of here, because Dream has a supreme confidence about what it is that he does and what we do. And he can hear things in the raw, you know, a lot that I need to hear things more developed. So Tata hears it, he goes crazy. And I feel like he just walked out, and it seems like 2 minutes later, because keep in mind, we're on tour with Beyonce, but we're the opening act. So it's not like we're having like some interaction. So I don't want to make it seem like at this point we really know her. I knew her from before, like the Writings on the Wall days, but it's been a long time since like that time. And so kind of reintroducing ourselves in that way. And ultimately 5-10 minutes later, she comes in, and that's the way we work. It's like, cool, open the mic. She sang it on the spot.
That's insane.
And then we built the overdubs and the production as we know it today around her vocals. And the rest, I guess you could kind of say, is history. It's so much history, so many dominoes to the success of a massive record like that falling into place. And I think it was a really magical moment. And it wasn't until recently, I would say, that I was like definitive in saying what my biggest record is or the most important, but I have to just give it to Umbrella because of like what it meant to us all, what it meant for myself, Dream, Kook, our management, everything. It just changed everybody's trajectory. And so I don't know that we get to Single Ladies without Umbrella. Probably not. We're probably not invited to that party. We're probably not on the tour. We're probably not in the proximity to have that moment. And so it's just but Single Ladies is so, so special. Winning the Grammy for Song of the Year is the most gratifying thing that you could ever be part of as a songwriter. I still want to win Record of the Year. That one has escaped me. I think I've been nominated like maybe 4 times now. But the songwriter one is just it's the most prestigious, and it's like, if you do what we do. And so Just lots of great memories and emotion go with that one.
Amazing. We just talked about like 3 of the biggest songs of all time. Not just that you've been a part of, but 3 of the biggest songs of all time. Umbrella, Baby, Single Ladies. Do you know that these songs, how do you know to stop working on a song? And do you know these songs are going to be so massive? But when you're creating them?
No, not at all. I'm going through a process of greatness. I chase to be great, and then I let the chips fall where they may. I'm just comparing myself to the best of the best. Like as a creator, I love sports, right? So I'm big on keeping score, and I know who's scoring, and I know what the score is, and I'm just trying to keep up with the people that are, that are really, really great. It's a lot of people here that I've been here working with, whether that be Jermaine Dupri or Pharrell Williams or Max Martin or all these. I've been doing Timberland. I've been doing this a long time. We've seen a lot of people come and go, and then there's a consistency of people that you're just like, wow, they're really still out here and they're really still going after it. And I don't know the answer because the fan ultimately holds the key. But what I will say is that I'm competing at trying to be the greatest producer that I can be based upon having an attraction to the best people who do it at the highest level. So I don't know what that, the chips, all the records don't work, but it's a hit record is a miracle. And I realized that when I went to work at Epic for my short stint there, and it was like, and everyone has this misconception, I think, that my record wasn't pushed, but I saw it firsthand. The ones that got it they don't need a push. They don't get pushed like that. It's the B+ records that you're always pushing, but the A's and the A+, they work. They really they just take off. And I realized that my whole life was hanging on some weird miracle of like threading the needle, if you will. And that made me really uncomfortable. It kind of shook me up a little bit for a minute, I got to be honest, because you're like, I'm building a life off of this. Like when you could see it from the other side.
True.
Like it's a miracle to get the audience engagement all in one place because they love what you do or what you've done.
Yeah. Do you think the internet has changed what defines success in music today? And do you think it's different now than it was back in the day?
Absolutely. The internet has changed everything. I mean, it's made the access so easy. And so everybody's making it. So it's harder for people to find great music, but I still think that it's the same amount of great music. It's just I saw something the other day that said that we had more records released on one day than all of 1989. And, crazy. I remember when, I want to say, could be wrong, but I remember when music got to 1,100 releases a year, and they were like, it's oversaturated. And so compared to where we are today, everybody's making music, everybody's singing.
Yeah.
But, just because you could go build your bathroom does not mean that you're a master builder of homes. And so I think it just it's a taste level. And I do believe that there is a place for everyone. I do believe that music is an amazing backdrop to be able to have a life. And at whatever level that you can have it, I think it's great if you can make music your profession. Me, I just prefer to be a master builder. Mm. I build mansions. Like I don't want to redo a bathroom and come in and go, like, I want you to walk in and go, oh my goodness. What I've never seen anything like this. I've never heard, you know what I mean? Like, and so I keep a very narrow focus on my point of attraction as it pertains to how I see myself in the record business. And I see myself successful at the highest levels, not in the cool spaces, not playing in small rooms. I see it, and I've only seen it, and I hope to continue to see it at the stadium and arena level. with having songs that people are either opening the show with or closing the show. I try to write songs that cannot be written out of the concert.
Wow. That's an interesting statement right there.
Because you can write records and they can be out of the concert. You can have a hit that doesn't matter 20 years from when you wrote it. But there's certain songs that have to be sang.
But there's also a lot of songs that you're behind that have like gone viral on social media like 10 years after they were written. Like the Lorax soundtrack, Let It Grow.
Yeah.
All the songs of that, How Bad Can I Be?
My God.
Those
Jeez.
went so viral on social media in the last like 2 years.
Yeah, Breaking Dishes is doing that right now with Rihanna. I'm just
Really?
Yeah, it's going up on something. I don't know what it is, but I just see it, and like the streams are going up and everything. It's really cool, and that part I love about the internet of music, because I do believe that music can be found, and when it's out there,
Mm-hmm.
and there's so many people that need music and so many mediums for music now, that I do believe that you have the ability to have some great things happen to you just by putting it in the atmosphere. And so I think that part is really, really cool.
Couldn't agree more. And it even like continued to today with Water, Tyla.
Yeah.
That was also went super viral on social media. Do you find that there's a different sense of making a record that goes viral on the internet versus, or is it just like all the same process and songs will just catch on because of like a movement started by the
I
fans?
think we call it viral right now, but I think there was always something. There's
Okay.
always an X factor. There's always something that you didn't see coming, right? Like with Single Ladies, it was the video,
Mhm.
right? It was the video, or it was Justin Timberlake doing the routine on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
There's always these influxes of the unexpected that you didn't know. Justin Bieber's Baby, the birth of YouTube. Like, you didn't see that coming, right? Michael Jackson, MTV. You know what I mean? You need things to catapult superstardom. And you just have to be, timing is important, but I think overall, you just have to be able to kind of be in position to have the good thing happen to you by doing the thing that you do best. We don't know what's going to go viral exactly unless you're writing with the intention of going viral. And I haven't done that yet, but I do know that there's an art to that as well, which I will be getting into. But there is an art to writing to go viral. And, there's, the Water record in particular, like I didn't produce that record, like Sammy Sosa produced that record. And, we were working on it and I was exchanging versions with him. Like, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Da-da-da-da. And then he put that bass knock in there. Bump, bump, bump. What happens if the bass knock isn't in there? Like, does the video get to the Water challenge? Like, those are, I probably don't make that decision. And that's why, sometimes you have to know how to get out of the way of when somebody has a beat on something as well. I was like really working closely with Tyla, like, and her team. And then when Water was like one of the records that we were kind of doing at the end of where I was working with her, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it led to a whole new thing. And I was like, okay, Sammy, you got this thing, right? Like, and so Sammy really went in there and just kind of redefined that and created the whole Tyla sound. And so in those sessions, we did the Water record and the Safer record. And that was down in Atlanta at Sessions in my new studio that we just built. And then the rest of it is literally history.
Wow.
But that one production thing in that song if you look at, like, that thing took off, and that's what made it go viral. The song was an amazing song before that challenge, but it wasn't moving like that.
Yeah.
And then that challenge came, out of here.
Took off.
Yep.
I talk to a lot of different hit makers, producers, songwriters, and they all talk about how you can't go with the intention of making a hit because then you won't make one. But what's interesting about your perspective is I'm going into the studio to make the biggest song that I can. That perspective to create that, why do you think other artists, songwriters, producers are like, oh, it's about the art. We're not in here to make hits. But then your perspective is very different.
I don't go in to make the biggest. I go in to be great.
Okay.
I chase the greatness of the greatest people that I know and what they've made and created. I don't do art. Like, art is for the wall. I want to hear my records. You can hang my art on the wall. Like, that's just kind of how I feel about it.
Okay.
And it's not, I don't think hit has become a bad word. It's not, the hit is the best song on the album. That's it.
True.
It's the best one, regardless of how you look at it, because the fan is what I'm after.
And they're listening to the hits.
They get to name the hits. You don't get to call them hits before they happen.
That's
Before
true.
that, it's a record.
That's true.
They become hits. So I focus on making great records with the idea and the understanding and the studying of what has happened before me and what's happening right now. And so from that standpoint, I'm not going in the studio going, we're about to make this hit. No, I'm saying I'm attracted to the hit. I in my law of attraction, I want the hits because my life doesn't run off of album cuts. Right? Like, it doesn't, I can't be number 9 on your album and support the amount of people that I support, the life that I've lived
True.
for 35 years. It requires drivers. It requires, I don't know where everybody else wants to live, but I don't want to have to move. You know what I mean? Like, I own studios, multiple studios, and these things have employees. There's an ecosystem, and they all run off of one thing: songs, big songs. So it just depends on the plan for your life. If I work at home, if I packed up my backpack and put my laptop and my Apollo in my bag, I might have a different perspective. But I have a 15,000 square foot studio, 7 rooms. I had 2 studios out here, countless
Incredible.
amount of employees,
Yeah.
and a vision.
What is that vision?
My vision is to ultimately continue what we're doing. The next steps for me in my career is like, I'm at the age where Quincy Jones made Thriller. Right? I want that moment. Like, there's a crowning jewel of my career that I want to add, which is a relationship with a global superstar that takes over the world, where the majority of the songs that you hear are done by me and by my team and directed by our traffic. The other part is at Sessions Atlanta, which is my newest concept, and where I think studios should be and why I think studios are valuable or why people would utilize them, is that I've done an elevated experience for recording people, for recording artists and people and creatives to come in and enjoy, live a life where they can mentally check in so that they can check out. So, like, you don't have to worry about anything. Your job in here is to be the best version that you can be. And there's a part in here that if you're here, Mariah Carey, if you're here, Ariana Grande, or whoever it is, there's a part that only you can do. And I'm going to try to get you to do the best thing that you can possibly do. And it's not going to be about you going out or having this meeting or doing that. Like, no, let's take the time. Let's figure it out. And let's sit here and wait until we have the right thing. And that's where I think the magic comes from. And that's where my relationships, where I've made significant records or songs, has to do with the amount of time that you could spend building chemistry. Because I would hate to have one and then have to chase people around to try to get the same configuration back because of this publisher is over here and this guy's in Nashville and now this person's in Dubai. And you're like, nah, we don't do it like that in Atlanta. We had Red Zone, we had So So Def, we had Noontime. We live in a writing camp. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we live in them, and we stay with them long enough in order to write massive songs. But it's not a day in this though. People call me like, can we write? I'm like, I don't know what writing means to you, but it's very precious to me.
Yeah.
It's so you're like asking me to come over and get in my bathtub as far as I'm concerned.
Speaking of relationships you've had, one of the first people that I got to interview was Justin Tranter.
Mm.
And Justin had a question for you.
Okay.
And it was between Frank Ocean, The Dream, Quentin Miller, Esther Dean, and me. Your ear for finding hit makers before anyone else is unmatched. How do you hear things before others, or why do you hear things before others?
Because I study. I think I can hear things because I study greatness and people that are really talented. And one of the traits of being great is not needing anyone else's validation to hear what you're hearing and champion it, believe in it, go balls to the wall for those people. Like every single one of those people, I believe in my heart of hearts, they're like some of the greatest things that I've ever heard. Like, and so I'm always looking for people that are going to make it with or without me. And then I just want to just champion them. I believe that those people, now obviously access is very, very important. But I just do for people what I would want them to do for me. I feel like my brothers knew that I was extremely gifted in a way, and they put me in front of the people that could say yes, and that's what I tried to do for Justin. That's what I tried to do for Frank, Dream. I can't remember who, Esther.
Yeah.
Milla, Quentin was a little bit of a different situation because it was more of an artist play.
Mm.
But the truth of the matter is, I just don't need anybody's validation besides my partners, Mark and Judy. And if they see what I see, because who gives a shit what anybody else thinks? Like, I can prove it. I can prove it. I can prove to you why Justin Tranter's great, to get him started and to give him access. And then after he gets the access, well, the proof is in the pudding.
Yeah.
Look at the guy. Look at him. I mean, it's just phenomenal.
Definitely.
Phenomenal talent. And so I think so many people, this is like an industry where nobody likes to put their neck out. Like, my neck is out all the time, like, for what I believe in. But that's why I'm not part of the industry the way that other people are in the industry. I do music for a living, but I am not an industry like, oh, we're running over here because everybody's doing Jenny, everybody's doing Blackpink. It's like, well, tell them to come to Atlanta.
Yeah.
I ain't chasing them around the world. Like, tell them to come to Atlanta because we got enough pop songwriters that if you come sit with me and Mike Will and Dream and T-Ron and and Metro Boomin and some of the folks down there, and like you'll find it to be worth it. But if you don't find it to be worth your time, I don't find it to be worth mine either.
You mentioned him right now, and that was Frank Ocean.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me your experience with Frank and how that all happened.
Frank is a little bit of a different story because Frank is a different kind of guy, right? And so I met Frank. My brother, Tab, brought Frank to me. They brought him as a writer, or wanted me to write with him. And at the time, I was doing Mariah, was doing Christina Aguilera's Burlesque, and something else. And everything that I was doing, because Dream had such a unique voice at the time, still does, but it was hard because people hadn't heard his voice. So translating the magic of his nuances into singers and making sure that the records are coming out, not like that they're emulating him, but that they're not losing any texture of what the magic is in his tones and his timing and all that. So here comes my brother and Tab with Frank Ocean. who I hear the same amount of difficulties. Like, and I'm just like, I can't have two of these in my life. So
Yeah.
I looked at him and I said, listen, man, I love what you do. I really, really do. But the only way I would do this is if you would consider being an artist, because I just don't want, with the vocals that I'm hearing at the time, I was like, I don't want to spend the time trying to get people to sound like you. I was like, I'm up to here with that type of energy. And so he was like, yeah, no, I would love to, right? Like that'd be great. Like, and you know, he was a young kid and had just been displaced by Katrina and everything. And so, so he was like, okay, all right, I'll definitely do it. And I said, okay, but listen, there's only one thing. I said, I really want you to be my artist, but I got to be honest with you. I was like, I'm a year out from being able to see you, like musically. Like, and he was like, all right, cool. Now, at the time, he had given me and Tab and Mark all these songs that we love, like 5 or 6, maybe 10 songs that we all were like, this guy's incredible. And so he looks at me and he goes, okay, I'll be your artist, but he's like, there's only one thing. I hate every song I've ever written. And I was like, I said, well, what does that mean? I was like, these songs are amazing. And that was the birth of Frank Ocean, because at that point he was Lonnie Bro. And when I asked him to be our artist and we signed him, that was I think a transformation for him to go from the songs of what he thought other people liked to writing songs for himself. And that's the Frank Ocean that we enjoy to this day. And I think to me, he's one of the most incredible talents that I've been around. But we didn't end up having like the greatest relationship just because I signed him to a label that wasn't really interested in him being signed, or they weren't really validating it. And so after we did Nostalgia Ultra and we dropped it, and the whole world came looking for him.
Yeah.
Like literally in 2 nights. And everybody wanted to sign him. Meanwhile, he was signed. And the last people to the table was actually the label that he was signed to. And I think from that standpoint, me bringing him into that situation really caused a wedge in our situation from the standpoint of, like, I brought a bad partner for him. Not a bad partner for everything else I was doing, but for him, I brought a bad partner to the table, and it was just like I think he wanted to shed that skin. And so Nostalgia Ultra was really the last thing that we really collaborated on. And then the Channel Orange album, like we would play stuff, he would come by and play me stuff. It was still like a relationship. I would go by the studio, things like that. And then after that, he was kind of on his own. And I took a buyout.
Oh, wow. In terms of all the songs that you talked about, I think one of the ones that like still stands out from Frank is Novacane. Tell me about how that song came about.
Yeah, we were in Atlanta, and I just love working with creative people, and I love working with Dream. And Dream and I had done a song called Fancy, which was kind of like a never-ending musical, like almost like a musical ball off in a way. Like, I mean, and so Novacane was my version of doing something like that with Frank, where the twists and turns were going to be endless. And it was just like, let me just show you. Like, that Novacane and Fancy is as close as I get to art. It's me trying to show you that I'm better than you. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, is that I do this for real. Like,
yeah.
And so Novacane, he just kept adding. He would come in, he would write something, and then he would write something, and then I would go in the other room and I'd be like, check this out. And then he would write something to that. And then I would go in the other, and then he would write something, and then he'd give it to me, and I'd do something else. And then he would go in the room, and we did that for about 10 days. Like, and that's Novacane.
Oh, wow.
Just us going back and forth in 2 different rooms at my other studio in Atlanta Triangle. He was in Studio B. I was in Studio A. One of my favorite records that I've ever done. Truly, like, just tugs on my heartstrings of just the record itself and the creative process.
I love it. You said earlier, I don't know. I think it's interesting because when it comes to like the business of music and like the industry that is the music industry, you've talked previously about how every music producer or artist is a publisher when they start making music, but you can decide whether or not to own it as like your publishing. In like 2018, I was looking online that you did whatever when you sell your catalog, and then you did a publishing deal. What I feel like this might be a dumb question, but as someone who isn't afraid to look dumb, what exactly is a publishing deal, and would you recommend people who are songwriters to get a publishing deal?
I would, because it's my view, right? It's my view. I took a publishing deal to be in music. I wanted to be in music, and part of the first step at that time is being able to make a living from it, right? And to legitimize yourself to go, this is what I do. There wasn't Uber. They couldn't drive Uber in the evening when you wanted to, those types of things. There wasn't that type of flexibility in the world. But I do believe that signing publishing deals, depending on what kind of deal you have to sign, is a valuable way in. The first level of music in records or in music is publishing, going back to sheet music or whatever. So anytime that you have a job, you want to get compensated. Like, this is not a dream for me. I needed to get compensated for the work that I needed to put in as an early writer. And so publishing is just the exchange to me, is the exchange of money, non-recourse debt, right, first and foremost, because you could get the same money from a bank. But if you don't write the hit that you say that you're going to write, and 85% of the people don't, they don't come take your house. They don't come take your car. They don't come take your watch. But if you take money from a source that's not in music, then that's what the reality of the situation. And people don't talk enough about why non-recourse debt is important in music, because nobody has to give their money back when they don't do what they said they were going to do.
Interesting.
And so ultimately, I believe that publishing is a great, viable way to legitimize yourself into saying that I am indeed a professional songwriter. Now, if you're a producer, producers have fees. You might be able to sustain yourself off of fees and build a life off of that. But labels have never been known for being timely, giving you the type of consistency that you need in order to build a life. So maybe it's by design, but publishers are the people that create the stability for writers to be able to start a life based upon the ideas that you have in your head as our future business. Not, you know what I mean? Like, take out your 100K, 200K, 300K, whatever it is, and then give it to somebody for the idea that they have in their head, and it's not tangible. It's a huge risk on both, it's a huge risk on both sides. And so I think the best relationships are relationships. In fact, some of my best relationships ever are with my publishers. I was blessed enough, and don't get me wrong, I had bad publishers too, but all it takes is one great relationship. One great relationship. Working with Monty Olson and Peer Music, when I was signed to them with Kathy Spanberger and Ralph Peer and those guys, like, they took pride in making me a millionaire. Now, I did the work, but they liked handing me the money just as much as I liked making the records. And so everybody's not like that. So you got to find the people. You got to find the type of people that want you to live on the same street as them. And that's a whole different type of discernment within the industry. There's certain people that come into everything going, they program you to go, how cheap, how low. And then there's other people that go, I want to do business with my friends. They can't pay you when you're not doing shit. But if you're doing it, there's people that want to pay you more than what you're worth too. And those relationships that I've had with like people like L.A. Reid, Monty Olson, Mercuriadis, these are people that I have so many relationships that I've built over time that when a person gets in a new situation, the first person they think of who they want to work with and who they want to share this opportunity with is me and my family. But that comes from doing the business the right way. That comes from delivering and understanding what you signed up for. If you're a record company and I don't give you a hit, I can't come in and talk to you about the art and how this shit feels good. It doesn't work that way. It's like everybody's got something that they have to bring to the table. And so many people want to get in this thing. They're not educated. They don't know what it's built off of. And, the people that are like, oh, I can't write a hit. Well, guess what? Then don't do this, because that's what it's built off of. That's what it's built off of. If you're at a record label and you're signed to a record label, they put out hit songs. They don't put out artists. That's
Very
it.
true.
They put out hit songs. If Michael Jackson could get dropped, so can you.
Oh, dang. True. Wow. You have been in this industry, been successful for so long. What is a piece of advice you have for anyone out there that wants to get into music? And how do you just said that like people aren't educated. How do they become educated then?
I keep using this word studying. Like studying is important, I believe, and it's a lost art. Like with a lot of people doing a lot of talking, it's like you got to know the landscape of music. You have to know where the money is. Like there's only a couple of places to get money. There's so many people that I talk to that just don't even understand the business element. And so I just call that wishful thinking. Like it's like if you want to be a race car driver, don't get on the freeway, start going fast. That's not the road. And there's a road to being a professional music person. And these chairmen, these managers, these publishers, these booking agents, whatever it is, there's an ecosystem. And so part of my studying and my education was it could be as simple as I love this record and wanting to know who did it. Now, if that record leads you to Pharrell Williams, go learn about Pharrell Williams. Like, if it doesn't matter what song it is, go learn about him. Go learn who's engineering his record, who mastered it, who's his manager, how did he get this who hired him? Who hired Pharrell Williams to do this record, right? Like, that's what I looked at. Like, and so when I hear a lot of people really like, get in with the artist. Get in with the artist for what? They don't have no money. I get in with the artist because they have a relationship. But the first thing I'm going to ask you is, who's behind you? What's the story here? Like, what label, what manager, where am I going to get compensated? Because I keep hearing like people talking where it's like, oh, like they didn't get their money. Like, and I'm not the person that leads with money. I just have enough confidence in the ability to know what I know about the industry that there is money at the end. And certain people just get in with the artist and don't realize, like, I'm still waiting on a check from an artist with an artist's name on it. So why am I going to spend my time solely, like, I will work with an artist outside of the label after being introduced by the label or by the manager. Somebody that understands what it is that I do and my compensation of what it is that I bring to the table. Because other than that, I'd rather be at dinner. Like, I've got enough records under my belt that I'm not looking to get in. I'm not trying to have a session that doesn't count. So my advice to people is understand what you want, find a mentor, chase down the part of the industry where you identify with it. Like, pick your person. And then if they're your person, pattern yourself after them. Understand, like the people that I mess with, David Foster, LA Babyface, like, I wanted to eat where they eat. I wanted to bump into them on accident. I wanted to, like, it was intentional. Mm. Like, when MCA Records was on Lancashire, 777 Lancashire, Lil Silas Jr., Gerald Busby, Ernie Singleton, Madeline Randolph. I knew the people that worked in that building before I moved here from Chicago. So I knew that I needed to get with those people because I knew that they were making Belle Biv DeVoe. They were making Bobby Brown. They were making the records that I thought were moving the needle. So I always made it a thing to close the gap between what I'm hearing, like literally hearing, like who mixed that. That's why I know Dave Pensado.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Dave Pensado, Jason Joshua, where we are right now. Like it was because of the records that I heard him mix that led me to the same relationships that I'm still making records with, because whether that's sonically, whether that's visually, whether that was video wise, I'm attracted to what looks like the big thing. And so with that, I would get all the information about that and close the gap between the part of the industry that I wanted to be in, where I saw myself. It was a strategy for me. It's not for you to tell me where I'm going. And I don't know where you're going. Like, hey, you want to work on my artist X? Well, who is that? I didn't study that. Tell me the back. Like, so if I get what I want, what am I getting? If I do deliver the thing that you're calling me for, who's promoting? Is this going to radio? Is this just a DSP thing? Like, what's the end game here? And so I would say be educated about, this is not a dream. This is not a dream. It is actual business that runs off of real things, and you have to know what it runs off of. And when you're not providing one of those things, then there's a lot of frustration in it, because you haven't been real enough with yourself about what it takes to be successful.
Getting educated, studying, finding a mentor. What is your suggestion to people out there to find a mentor? Like, how did you find your mentor?
My mentor was my brother Laney to start, and then L.A. Reid became my second mentor, and I've had the same one. And I pick up pieces from different people I read, but L.A. had the career that I wanted. Okay. It looked like I wanted it. It had class, it had elegance, it had hits. He had versatility. And that was because I knew I wanted to be not only a music producer, but I knew I wanted to sign artists and things like that. Creatively, there's artists. Creatively, there were people musically that I wanted to be like. I loved Scott Storch, right? And when he was doing 50 Cent and Christina Aguilera at the same time and doing like incredibly organic records, but at the same time had the club going crazy, I was like, that is the type of versatility that I want. Like like there's a lot of people that I have a lot of respect for, but when he was in his zone of making the types of records that he was making on Christina that were at the highest pop level, but super authentic on the hip hop level, I just love that versatility about him, and I patterned myself musically after him. And then finding mentors is just, you got to be looking for one. You got to know you need one. Mm. There's lots of programs and things out there now where, one thing leads to the next. I'm not suggesting that people are, on every, like, I'm going to this panel, I'm going to that, but you might see somebody in that really resonates with you, and you got to close the gap between you and them. Like I will target you. I will target a person that I want influence in my life.
If you were 20 years old, didn't have any hits, and were restarting in music today, what would you do?
I'd be an artist.
Interesting.
Yeah, the artist part is the healthiest part of the business. Like,
why do you say that?
Because I think we're in the part where we're truly in an artist-led industry now. Okay. I feel like the artist is in control, and everything that I see happening from the label side is them getting out of the way, so that these artists that are creating the momentum and the spark or the motion. I don't think the labels moving forward are that interested in creating the motion. I think they'll identify the motion and put the gas on it, but it's up to you to create the motion. And I don't think the way that I would do it, I don't think that would work today. For, just being like off to yourself, being like this producer and kind of being insular. I think the artist, and I wouldn't change it. And so for me, I'm never gonna be, because of how I feel about music, I'm never gonna not value it. I'm never sending it out. Like, I'm never shopping it like that. I don't, you know what I mean? So it's like, I just think being on the artist side is the healthiest side of the business in 2025 and beyond.
That's really interesting. You have done so many things within music, but it seems like you're also helping the next generation with some of the stuff I'm hearing about, selling Red Zone, starting something new, and then also something about with the architects.
Mm.
Is there anything that you hope people can check out? Anything that you want to tell the people to look at?
What I want you to look at closely is I want you to look at Sessions Atlanta. I'm building what I would call a discovery springboard for young people, young creative minds, not just taking into consideration music, but music executives, music publishers, things that I find to be creative. So whether that's makeup, whether that's mixology, whether that's choreography, I have a springboard that I've created in Atlanta that is for young people, particularly to find themselves. Like, there's not enough places where I think creative people can go find an environment where they can feel safe daily, and then be able to explore the ideas of what these industry opportunities are, and have people direct them and help guide their steps to where the financial outcomes are in this business, because there's only a few places where it is. And so many people have so much ambition, but they could just be doing things. And I'm like, well, do you want to be a manager or do you want to be a publisher? Well, I just like being in the studio. But in what capacity? Do you want to make the records or do you want to manage the process when it leaves? Like, just helping people organize their thoughts. So Sessions Atlanta is proving to be a really nice thing for our city and hopefully for the country, because I think there's so much creative people out there that just don't have that last 10%. And so people call me the finisher. And so this is kind of like an elevated finishing school. I help people who have put themselves in the position already, industry people who have studied to a degree, but just kind of going, how do I get to that part where I can make my life from this? And we're there mentoring daily, doing seminars, and just giving education, context, access to people, and ultimately helping them find what's inside of them the way that my brothers and my family have nurtured me to find my creativity with confidence, and to be safe, to be protected. I don't have an industry messed me over story. I don't have a bunch of I didn't knows. I was like I said, my greatest thing was being probably born literally where I was born into, and people nurturing me, people providing the ability for me to have access to studios, to have access to whatever it was, the things at the time. And so I'm just trying to pay that forward to the next generation. And so it's been really, really great watching us flourish down at Sessions. And so when you come down, I definitely want you to come down there and check us out. It's something very, very unique. It's a very, very special place. And I hope to make it so that it's so great that we will be in multiple cities. But right now it feels really, really good. And the feedback is really strong. We've been open 2 years.
Oh, wow.
And really proud of that.
Incredible. Sessions Atlanta is
yes, so go follow us at Sessions Atlanta on Instagram. And we're also launching we're about to launch our YouTube channel. So we're getting into the content space, and kind of everything that we first started with was like, keep it private, but it's like people want to know now. People want to see behind the wall, no pun intended. But there's so many interesting stories, and all the stuff that's going on in 2025, there's a lot of stuff going on. And one of the things about Sessions that I've dedicated my life to, that my family has, is that there's a lot of conversation, honest conversation, blending of people, blending of culture that goes on in sessions. So there's an ancillary gift of being in music, even if you don't get exactly what you want. There's so many success stories of people that, people that we might have worked with that didn't become successful in music, but having access to real conversation, that how songs are led to, men and women differences, whatever they are, sessions is a conversation.
Amazing.
And I love the idea of being able to dedicate that kind of frequency into the world where people talk, in a world where people are shouting.
Yes. Wow. That's really cool, actually. I think we're seeing this big shift in the public where they're starting to understand that there's other people behind songs. And I think they're becoming very fascinated and interested in that world. So I think it's really great that you are all doing content in that space, because I think people are hungry for it as more and more time has passed on.
Yes. I would love to get you to come to Atlanta you come do some of the people that are down there. We have so many dynamic hit makers and people that, they don't talk a lot, like it's hard to get some of these people to talk, but we have a lot. We have Hall of Fame songwriters down there. We have some of the, I'd love to see Esther Dean on this platform. I'd love to see T-Ron.
100%. I first of all, just want to say thank you so much for thinking of me for that. I've been trying to go to Atlanta for a bit now. I haven't had a reason yet, and this sounds like the biggest one possible. So I would love to do that.
It'd be great. It'd be great to have you, to host you, and so that you can see and feel firsthand what it is that I just shared with you. But it's really something special.
Amazing. Yeah, T-Ron, he messaged me on Instagram and he was like, I'd love to be on there. And then because I made a video about, I've made a lot of videos. I've made like 5,000 videos now, and I've made many on you over the years. But one of them that really stood out was making a video about you and Esther Dean, the songs from Let It Grow that went viral.
I didn't even know that was you.
Yeah.
I was like, this is so cool. I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. Thank you.
And so I think that there are, what you said earlier, there's songs, then there's hits, and there's smashes. I feel like you've been a part of so many incredible smashes that have transcended time as well, and we're seeing that over and over and over again. When I started this series, I said earlier, was to shine a light on the people and stories behind music, movies, and media, but it was also to inspire every underdog to go for it. And me personally, when I was making videos on my phone, got laid off from my job, recording a laptop screen, and then I started interviewing people, I said, one day I'd love to talk to Tricky Stewart, but probably would never happen. So thank you for letting someone live his dream today by talking to one of the greatest music producers of all time. This is for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. This has been great.
Incredible. Thank you for going behind the wall with us. Check out all of Tricky Stewart's content for our Sessions Atlanta and also Tricky. Amazing.
Thank you, guys.
See you next time.
That was good, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
It was worth the flight.